You know, when we talk about Islam today, the conversation often gets stuck on a few big, noisy topics. But what if the most important debates, the ones that have shaped the tradition for over 1,000 years, aren't about what you think? Well, in his incredible essay, The Unbearable Intimacy of Language and Thought in Islam, scholar Ibrahim Moosa pulls back the curtain on a far deeper conflict, one that's fought not with swords, but with words. So let's dive in. The writer Roberto Colasso gives us this beautiful image to start us off. And really, it just perfectly sets the stage for what we're about to explore. We're not just talking about words as simple labels. We're getting into that vast, complex ocean of thought and how language tries, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, to give it some kind of form. So here's something Musa points out right away. Public discussions tend to grab onto terms like Islamic fundamentalism. And sure, it's a convenient label, but it completely flattens an incredibly diverse and dynamic history. What we miss is that for centuries, Muslim communities have been home to these fierce, rich, and absolutely vital internal debates about the very nature of meaning itself. And that brings us right to the heart of Musa's argument. He suggests that the central ideological contest within the Islamic tradition, the real battleground, wasn't about physical territory, but about words. Specifically, it was a battle over the nature of language itself. This framing from Musa it's so powerful. He argues that language isn't just a tool for communication, it's a weapon. It's the primary way a tradition is formed, preserved, and even transformed. I mean, think about it. If you control the meaning of words, you control the boundaries of thought and faith. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. Which leads to this absolutely fundamental question that people debated for centuries. Where does language come from? Is it something given to us by God, perfect and complete? Or is it something we humans create, a system of agreements and conventions we build over time? Your answer to this question, well, it changes everything. Okay, so this debate basically created two main camps. On one side, you got the idea of tawqif, or divine origin. The thinking here is that words have fixed meanings set by God. To understand a text, your job is to uncover that original divinely intended meaning. But on the other side, you've got ishtingla, or human convention. This view says, hold on, language is more like a social contract. Meanings are fluid, they're created by human communities. And that, right there, opens the door for human reason and interpretation to play a much bigger role. All right, so into this high-stakes debate walks our main character, Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali, a towering intellectual of the 11th century. And he finds himself right in the middle of it all, trying to navigate what was a genuine intellectual and theological minefield. And here's what made Ghazali so brilliant. He refused to give a simple answer. Instead of just picking a team, he took a step back. He approached the problem like a true philosopher, breaking it down into its different parts and exploring every single possible scenario. He basically laid out three possibilities. First, okay, maybe God taught Adam all the words directly. Pretty straightforward. Second, maybe language is completely man-made, something we came up with out of social necessity. Or third, and this is a really fascinating middle ground, maybe God provided the basic sounds and letters, the building blocks, and then humanity constructed the rest. But in the end, Ghazali pretty much punts. Why? Well, as Musa explains, he knew this wasn't just some abstract academic debate. To openly say that language was created by humans had some seriously explosive theological implications. It would have put him in the same camp as rationalist thinkers whose views on other stuff, like the nature of the Quran itself, were seen as heretical. It was just too dangerous, politically and theologically, so he declared the question unanswerable and, frankly, not very useful. But, and this is the key, just because he didn't give a final answer on its origin, that doesn't mean he didn't have a powerful theory about how language works. And this is where things get really, really interesting. Let's look at a concrete example of Ghazali's method in action. Okay, so take this well-known teaching, or hadith. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? It sounds like a literal rule. Don't keep a dog in the house if you want divine blessings. For a lot of people, that's where the conversation stops. But Ghazali asks us to hit pause. He asks, is that really all it means? Is the meaning of these words completely used up by their literal, surface-level sense? Or is language maybe pointing towards something more profound, a symbolic truth that a literal-only reading would completely miss? And boom, here is his stunning interpretive move.
Ghazali argues that we have to look beyond the literal. He suggests the home in this teaching isn't a physical house of brick and mortar. The true home that the angels are trying to get into is the human heart. It's an internal spiritual space. So then, what are the dogs that are blocking the angels from getting into this spiritual home? According to Ghazali, they're the barking dogs of our own negative qualities. Things like anger, envy, arrogance. Those are the things that truly pollute our hearts and prevent spiritual realities from taking root. And just like that, a simple rule about pets becomes this profound teaching on ethics and self-purification. See what Ghazali did there? He just demonstrated a completely different way of approaching language. It wasn't just about decoding rules. It was about uncovering layers of meaning that speak to the human condition. And this brings us back to a bigger, universal idea about what language is even for. So we have a choice. Is language just a container for facts, where each word is just a label for a thing and the goal is simply to transmit information? Or is language a form of life? Is it a dynamic, creative force that doesn't just describe our reality, but actively shapes it? For thinkers like Ghazali, the goal was never just information. It was always about a deeper, transformative kind of understanding.
And this is where Moosa makes this brilliant connection to the 20th century philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. This quote just captures the whole thing. To engage with a language, whether it's sacred scripture or just everyday conversation, isn't just about learning vocabulary and grammar. It's to enter into a world, a way of seeing things, a way of being. And so, that leaves us with this final, critical question. Ibrahim Moosa's work, by showing us thinkers like Al-Ghazali, challenges us to really consider what's lying just beneath the surface of the words we use every single day. In our texts, in our conversations, even in our own minds. What vast oceans of meaning are waiting for us just beyond those scattered archipelagos of our words?